They were once the 5 great sins destined to destroy the world, but now they've become children in my orphanage. I thought they would reform because of this, but I never expected them to secretly establish an organization called Blue Moon. In just 5 days, they wiped out the largest criminal gang in the East. All of this happened because of a single sentence I casually wrote, which conquered the yandere's sin of wrath. Because of this, she helped me subdue the other sins and crowned me as their master. By the time the story begins, I've somehow become the leader of the world-destroying bosses. What on earth is going on? 2 years ago, I arrived in this fantasy world. At the time, I had no idea what kind of place this was, so I just wanted to survive by relying on my identity as a count's son. Until one day, I heard from a maid about the identities of my 2 brothers, Leo Faraday and Tonio Faraday. Hearing this surname, an ominous feeling suddenly welled up in my heart. Could this be Sasidria? Sasidria is a turn-based role-playing game. No matter which route you start from, when the 5 great sins appear, all nobles and cities will perish. Among them, Count Faraday appears as a supporting character, a debaucherous noble before the story begins. The reason I'm so familiar with this is because they're the first trash family to be eliminated by the protagonists. I remember this place provided a lot of experience points. I never imagined I'd be the youngest son of the Faraday family, Alan. Damn it. Right now, I'm praying the goddess will send me back, since the good life here only lasts 10 years. Aren't transmigrators supposed to get perks? Why don't I have a cheat ability? Thinking this, I suddenly stand up. It's not that there are no perks. After all, I know the game's plot 10 years from now, which means I have crucial information about the future. To safely survive, I silently devise a plan in my mind, that is to reform the 5 great sins. After all, they're still children now. They probably haven't gained their powers yet. Time quickly passes to 2 months later. My assistant is reporting the situation to me. He's already rescued all the orphans from the living experiment lab in the East and handed management over to Yudia. I nod with satisfaction. You did well. Evan freezes for a moment. You're praising me, right, young master? Because your expression doesn't seem to change at all. Then I force out a smile. I'm counting on you from now on. I can't help it. Actions that should be easy to make are completely impossible to control with his face. This is the first time Evan has been trusted like this. He scratches his head awkwardly. Anyway, thank you for the praise, young master. In Sasidria, where betrayal is the norm, Evan is one of the rare supporting characters who keeps his word, so I hired him the moment I found him. Then Evan's tone shifts. This attack was to rescue that girl named Yudia, right? I confirm this. Just as he suspected. From his experience as a mercenary, that girl is definitely not an ordinary child. She's so powerful that Evan can't understand why she'd obediently let herself be locked up. But there's something even more puzzling. Why don't you bring her back to train her yourself, young master? If you leave her out there, you won't gain any benefit. It's normal for Evan to be confused. Although it looks like I'm leaving her there without using any of her power, this is part of my original plan. Yudia Frodia is a member of the Cursed Blood Clan, who made a contract with an otherworldly being to use its power. She became the sin of wrath among the 5 great sins, a monster responsible for hundreds of thousands of casualties. But as long as she can grow up peacefully, she won't necessarily meet a destructive bad ending. I'm such a genius. To keep Evan from speculating wildly, I need to make up a reason. The reason is simple. The time isn't right yet. Hearing this, Evan can't help but frown. He feels his young master is playing a much bigger game. Then I signal to Evan that he can't leak this matter. I also provide him with ample funding, and finally hand him a letter of comfort for Yudia. After experiencing such cruel living experiments, it's better to comfort her, although I don't know if this will really put her at ease. I still have to try, because I've included a hidden message in the letter. This phrase was repeated dozens of times in the game. It's an incantation that can soothe the Cursed Blood Clan and has a calming effect. The troubles of dark beings, the emptiness of light beings, are the only talent and belonging. This is a scene from the Sin of Wrath story. At the time, reciting this incantation had no effect, although it was part of the story that triggered combat after failing the game. But now, 10 years before the game starts, it's not too late. I've already dealt with one of them. It's time to save the next. It sounds ridiculous that a single sentence could make me close to a monster, but since it's a race that worships otherworldly beings, maybe it'll actually work. After all, normal people can't understand the way these fanatics think. The scene shifts to the other side, where Yudia carefully reads the letter I wrote her. Evan finds her increasingly strange. She looks like a child with no emotions. Then Yudia speaks. You said the person who wrote this letter is someone called Lord Alan, right? Why didn't he call me to his side? The aura Yudia emanates startles Evan into a cold sweat. Because manifesting magical power requires at least the master realm. How can a girl not even 10 years old do this? Evan quickly remembers what his young master said. The young master said the time isn't right yet. Hearing this, Yudia finally calms down. She clutches the letter to her chest, beaming with a blissful smile. Because that phrase is a promise known only to her and her master. She understands why her master didn't bring her to his side. It must be that the time isn't right yet. At this moment, Yudia has already gained her power and become the Sin of Wrath, the Blood Queen. The scene shifts again. Several months later, I come to the library and search through vast amounts of information, but still can't find a clue about the third protagonist. At the same time, Evan hurries over because he's already rescued the second child. Then I uncertainly ask him again, you treated him kindly, right? Very gently? Before Evan can speak, the library door is kicked open. Oh my, isn't this our illiterate little Alan? This person is the second son of Count Faraday, Tonio. He starts mocking me the moment he enters. And it's like this every time. I don't know how the original Alan endured this. Although I want to fight back. Since he wants to use the library, I'll leave first. Just as Tonio steps on my head, a dagger interrupts him. Both of you worms get out. I don't want to see blood this early in the morning. This is the eldest son of the Faradays. Leo. Tonio quickly turns his hostility toward him. The two are at each other's throats from the moment they meet. Leo mocks the heavy medicinal smell on him, while Tonio tells him to wash off the smell of rouge. I take advantage of their distraction to slip away, although the Faradays are a cannon fodder family at the start. Their power is greater than imagined, the debaucherous brothers fiercely fighting for the position of family head. The eldest, Leo, is called the Playboy King and controls nearly half of the entertainment business. Tonio is called the Potion King and operates a large pharmaceutical industry for the sake of my peaceful life. I absolutely can't provoke them. I want to live happily as an incompetent, illegitimate son. Back in the room, Evan speaks again. He thinks the second child is also unusual, but seeing me like this, he's stunned. How does the young master know about secret experiments in distant places and rescue people from the slave black market? It looks like you can barely protect yourself. Evan can't figure it out no matter how hard he thinks. Are you sending this child? We worked so hard to find the orphanage too? I respond calmly. Evan just said that child is unusual. Of course he is. After all, he's a world-destroying figure. In the United Kingdom composed of multiple nations, Deus Makaran was bought from the slave black market of the core nation Kellyan. He's the second boss in Sisidria. After being sold as a slave, he suffered abuse and wandered everywhere. He eventually became the sin of sloth among the 5 great sins, and annihilated various kingdoms in the cruelest ways. It's this part of the story that shocked many players with the game's brutality. That guy bears the name of Sloth, but his vengeful spirit is incredibly diligent, because he always repays those who bully him many times over. I repeatedly reminded Evan to treat him kindly. Sending him to the orphanage is just because the timing isn't right yet. Evan guesses this is the case. So is the letter you sent to Miss Yudia related to the second child? I confirm this. To grow closer to Yudia by sharing daily matters, and to take good care of the sick child I sent over. That evening, Yudia observes from a distance this boy emitting purple light. He stares motionlessly into the void. Then she approaches. You look completely broken. It's the mark left by that thing, isn't it? The words black goat come from Yudia's mouth, but it's precisely this word that makes Deus, who seemed like a broken person before, suddenly react. His eyes filled with murderous intent and confusion. Yudia easily reads those emotions. Congratulations, that Lord has chosen you. Soon you'll gain power, so feel the power you've been granted and draw it out. Yudia gazes at Deus with a smile. You only need to swear absolute loyalty to that Lord, and then you can have your revenge. Immediately, countless purple lights overflow from Deus's body like threads. Meanwhile, Yudia looks at the letter her master wrote her. She can tell her master still cares about her so much. After reading the letter, the corners of her lips curve upward. She believes she'll be able to meet her master soon. The scene shifts to a few days later, just as I'm shaking my head in frustration at not being able to find the third boss. News suddenly reaches my ears. The second young master is dead. Hearing this, I freeze. The second son of the Faraday family has died? How could it be so fast? The Faraday family quickly holds a funeral for Tonio. However, Aldi, as the father, shows no concern for his son's death and even has women on both arms at the funeral. Truly a dark fantasy world. The family's scandals are filthier than the sewers of slums. Tonio's cause of death is listed as accidental fall, which is different from what I know. In the game, he dies fighting Leo for the position of family head. At this moment, Leo looks smug, his mouth almost splitting with a grin. The killer is either him or his supporters. However, I don't intend to get involved in this farce. My original plan is progressing steadily. I just need to deal with the 5 great sins. It looks like I need to speed up. Time quickly passes to 1 year later. After the heir issue is resolved, Tonio's pharmaceutical business is also swallowed by Leo, and the Count's family welcomes peace in this way. During this time, Yudia and I become pen pals. If I can continue to keep in touch with her, it will definitely help in the future. From the current information, they're all very innocent children. When I read to the end of the letter, I see this month's sponsorship amount. This puzzles me. The sponsorship for such a small orphanage keeps increasing. How curious. Evan beside me explains, this situation doesn't usually happen, but it's a good thing for them. Then Evan reports the recent situation. According to the guild's information, we found his trail. I'm very satisfied with this. The third boss? We've finally found that guy. The scene shifts to the hub of drug trafficking. Marco, Leo, the Faraday family's eldest son, keeps many assassins here. Now they've expanded to several hundred people. However, when 2 leaders come out, they see a horrifying scene. Their subordinates uncontrollably draw their own daggers. Every twisted face is filled with despair and pleading. Their arms still uncontrollably press the reverse-gripped blades slowly into their necks. Finally, more than 10 people end their own lives amid the sound of tearing flesh. When it's all over, Deus, who was hidden in darkness just moments ago, silently steps forward. He's confused about what the point of killing these guys is. Unlike a year ago, his eyes now gleam with rational light. Yudia turns her gaze toward him. Have you gone soft? Deus denies her view. I know they ground humans into poison. I just wonder if slaughtering these scum will help with revenge. Facing Deus's question, Yudia smiles, of course. This is laying the foundation for that lord's return. When that lord comes here, surely he can't stay in such a shabby place. Deus gazes at the pattern beneath his feet, nods as if in realization, and falls silent without another word. Everything is as that lord wishes. Blue moon is that lord's blade. After the 2 leave, a moon totem remains on the ground. 2 years have passed since Alan and Yudia became pen pals. Evan is now searching everywhere for Alan. Finally, he finds him in the backyard. Evan is completely exhausted. He's already sent the 5th child to the orphanage. During this time, he's rescued the remaining 3 sins, although finding the third one, the sin of greed, took some effort. With my game knowledge and working Evan to the bone, we ultimately succeeded. Looking at Evan, who's been running around all year, I signal that he can rest for a while now. Evan uncertainly confirms again. Is it finally over? After getting my confirmation, he immediately lies down on the ground. Evan lets out a long breath. But you don't look happy, young master. I signal him to look carefully. Can't you see I'm already smiling? Evan is dumbfounded. I'll just assume you're smiling. I stretch and organize my thoughts. I didn't expect things to go so smoothly. The formation of the 5 great sins all requires sufficient catalysts. Even if I tried my hardest to rescue them, it would be difficult to succeed before they encounter misfortune. In other words, the only worry was that I could only rescue the sin incarnations with damaged bodies and minds. But now this worry seems unnecessary. All 5 children are growing up healthy and strong. Then I ask again about the orphanage. You didn't notice anything unusual when you inspected the orphanage last time, did you? Evan takes out the letter Yudia wrote me. Someone like Snowwolf, when he first came back, was completely motionless like a broken doll, but he's adapting well at the orphanage. And Lena too. When we first rescued her, her eyes were tightly closed, swearing never to look at this world again. When I visited last time, she was actually reading a book with great interest and seems much more cheerful. I didn't expect Yudia could achieve this level. Could it be because of some special setting where she likes the orphanage? Looking at it this way, Yudia is also a kind person. Evan is confused about why I'm asking this. Did she write something special to you? Evan looks but doesn't find anything. On the contrary, the children at the orphanage are growing up healthy, which makes them somewhat proud. I didn't expect them to grow so smoothly. Environment really is the most important factor. Then Evan asks again the question that's been bothering him for years, but when do you plan to meet them? You always say when the time is right. This leaves me uncertain how to explain, because I don't want to meet them at all. Although there are many benefits to maintaining good relations with them, the process of them becoming sins is too painful and tragic. From the game's flashbacks, these guys' personalities were broken from childhood. Maybe after my intervention they'll be better, but I'm still a bit afraid of them. Then I give another vague answer. Maybe in 5 years. Anyway, in this dark world, I just need to improve my self-defense abilities. Fortunately, Alan has a little bit of magical talent. As I'm thinking, Evan mentions Blue Moon. It's an organization that's recently risen to fame in the eastern region. They supposedly specialize in hunting down other gangs. I'm hearing about it for the first time too, but they sound like they're doing good deeds. I haven't heard of this setting. It should disappear soon. Evan makes a throat-slitting gesture. The problem is they even kill nobles. I thought you knew about it, young master. Hearing this, my legs give out. Evan, starting tonight, you're sleeping in the room next to mine. The scene shifts to the orphanage. Yudia is listening to Blue Moon's report for this week. Snowwolf, the sin of pride, speaks in a cheerful tone wrapped in bloody content. I pulled off all the human traffickers' heads. I told them I'd spare them if they could name my eye color correctly, but not one of them got it right. And Lena, the sin of greed, melted all their corpses. The South is done too. Deus eliminated the illegal living experiment lab. Radon, the sin of avarice, punished those scum causing chaos in Avalon, turning them all into mincemeat. After hearing the work report, Yudia is very satisfied. We exist for the Great Moon. Blue Moon is a mysterious organization created by Yudia that worships the Great Moon. At this moment, Deus speaks again. We seem to have encountered a problem. Isn't the leader of Avalon the Count's eldest son who lives in that lord's mansion? While dealing with matters, Deus discovered a dangerous order. That eldest son seems to have targeted that lord. What did you say? Yudia shows an expression of disbelief. The air around seems to freeze. Snowwolf, who was just smiling brightly, now pricks up his ears and looks around. Lena, who's been observing in secret, suddenly stares fixedly ahead. When Yudia reads to the end, it indeed says, "Eliminate Alan." She clenches the letter. Yudia cannot let such a thing happen. The scene shifts to 2 years later. Count Faraday is dead. The official cause of death is cardiac paralysis. Those who know the situation can easily guess that Count Faraday's real cause of death was drug overdose. Eldest son Leo's indifferent expression seems to have foreseen this death long ago. Compared to this, he's more concerned about Blue Moon. Therefore, the Count's death quietly concludes in silence, never stirring a single sob. Back in the room, Evan asks me what to do next, since that guy will become the family head next year. And at this moment, I've already packed my luggage, because next I plan to temporarily leave here and hide in Rodemi for a while. Rodemi is a small village south of the Faraday territory. Just as Alan leaves, Leo stands upstairs gazing at him. What should I do? Should I eliminate Alan? Although this stupid brother has no ability. However, just as I'm enjoying 3 days of peaceful life, I'm forced to return to the Faraday mansion, because Leo, the eldest son of the Faradays, is dead. This confuses me even more. Why did he die so quickly? And it's completely different from the death setting. He died with a sword through his heart. Who killed Leo? At the same time, I notice all the servants are looking at me with strange expressions. They all seem afraid, yet I clearly haven't done anything. Soon Evan returns from investigating. What'd you find out? Evan leans toward my ear with an expression of disbelief. Young master, you're actually the mastermind who eliminated Avalon overnight. What the hell? What's this about? Time goes back to 3 days ago, the day I left the mansion. Evan is puzzled. Since I'm leaving the family, why not hide in a big city? That won't do, because Rodemi is the endpoint of my plan. I've already rescued the 5 great sins from misfortune. The original destructive plot has already been changed. Rodemi has no plot connection to the original story, and the Faraday family has a house there. It's the perfect place for me to slack off. Facing Sensing Evan's confusion, I tell him I have my own reasons. But Evan knows his young master is just fooling him. He doesn't understand what his young master is really planning, and my every move is under Leo's watchful eye. He originally wanted to poison Alan directly after their father's death, but unexpectedly Alan proposed going to the border himself. He thought he wouldn't need to kill him, but because of Avalon's recent matters, he inexplicably finds him annoying. Then he signals Armand to follow that carriage. Hearing this, Armand speaks, "Are you telling me to eliminate him?" The stiff question pierces the silence. Leo's brows furrow slightly. Armand, who has never questioned orders before, "Why are you suddenly asking this?" Just as Leo is about to correct his behavior, unexpectedly a blade pierces straight through his chest. Leo never expected his most capable subordinate during this time would betray him, and his name isn't Armin. His real name is Sidon, from the Blue Moon organization. They have only one creed, to become that Lord's blade. If anyone wants to harm him, Blue Moon members can take the initiative. So he waited 2 full years for this sentence. Unfortunately, Blue Moon has already given you a chance. Leo still fantasizes that his organization will avenge him, not knowing that this time they've already been uprooted. Meanwhile, I'm living very comfortably in Rodami. Eat my fill and sleep. Sleep my fill and eat. This is the noble life I truly want. However, after only 3 days, my peaceful life is shattered. Because Leo, the eldest son of the Faradays, is dead, I have to return to the Faraday mansion to take charge. So everyone falls into wild speculation, and I become the cold-blooded demon in their eyes. Can someone tell me how things turned out like this? Evan thinks about it and agrees. Because you're the only beneficiary in this whole affair, young master. Leo was assassinated after we left. You became the heir with a perfect alibi. Avalon also disappeared, so no one will trouble you over Leo's death. You've transformed into a sword, saint-level assassin, the mastermind behind the Count's family. In fact, the current situation leaves me unable to defend myself. Although I did nothing, everyone has to point fingers at me. Then I think of the Blue Moon organization Evan mentioned before. Could it be them? However, Evan directly denies my view. According to the guild's current investigation, it wasn't them. Blue Moon doesn't leave any corpses, but they always leave a mark. And Avalon's people were all killed by sword, so the killer is most likely a sword saint-level master. But thinking about it, that makes sense. Blue Moon is a grassroots organization that came out of nowhere and never even appeared in the game. So who could have done it? On the other side, Yudia carefully asks everyone if they left any traces. Lena speaks first. No traces left behind. Even the footprints were cleaned up. Snowwolf fiddles with the dagger in his hand. Only left a pile of body parts. The remaining 486 Avalon members were dealt with by Deus. The rest were split in half by Radan. Yudia's eyes flash crimson. Perfect. Avalon, which once dominated the kingdom, turned to dust in just 5 days. Then Radan speaks again. However, I don't think the cleanup was perfect. Yudia immediately becomes uneasy. Then Radan produces information about nobles connected to Avalon. Among them is a family called Aldia with close ties. Yudia finishes reading the information and murmurs softly, "You should know what I'm going to say, right?" Everyone readies themselves. Radan nods slightly. Understood. I'll deal with them discreetly. Only then does Yudia breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, there's just the guild's issue left after their investigation. They believe this matter has nothing to do with Blue Moon. All the guilds unanimously believe a sword saint created this hellish scene. However, Yudia feels they can't let their guard down and must continue monitoring the guild's information. This matter absolutely cannot reach that lord's ears. Absolutely not. Deus is puzzled. Although he was that lord's blood relative, he wanted to kill that lord first. This wasn't an order from that lord, was it? Yudia's crimson eyes suddenly flare. I've said it before, haven't I? We are all that Lord's blades. We cannot have our own thoughts, can we? Without orders, it's not acceptable. Do you understand? We can only act on orders. If that lord hasn't spoken, we absolutely must not act rashly. Never disappoint him. Deus runs his dry tongue over his upper lip and stares straight into Yudia's eyes. He simply cannot understand how someone as capable as Yudia could be anxious and uneasy to this extent, simply because she fears that person finding out. Although Deus has doubts, he doesn't dare ask more. All of this is for the Great Moon, for that lord. The scene shifts to the other side. Since Leo's funeral ended, I've been constantly dealing with family affairs. This month has been incredibly busy, but I just want to be a slacking noble. Although Leo offended some people, he should have died 6 years later, because the brothers' deaths changed the game's direction. All the household affairs have fallen on me as the heir, and everyone has become more diligent than before. I remember when the Count was here, they were slacking off all day. Little do I know that in their eyes, if they don't work twice as hard, they'll be eliminated by young Master Alan. I can also tell that everyone seems afraid. I hope they can handle things themselves without me having to intervene. The scene shifts to evening. Looking at the scene before him, Evan is still somewhat surprised. Because in just 2 years, the young master's magic has reached level 2. Normally, it takes 4 years to achieve this, and it also requires a certain magical talent. Although I just casually practice this magic for self-protection, mastering it requires precise control of magical power. Although I've achieved it, I'm still at an amateur level. Learning magic in this fantasy world was exciting at first, but as I studied deeper, I discovered my magic core is pitifully small. The innate core is like an athlete's natural ability level. However, compared to others, my magic core is extremely small. At this moment, Evan interrupts me because we've received an invitation to a ball today. If my 2 brothers hadn't died, you couldn't drag me to this kind of place, but now I've become the Count of Faraday, so I need to handle some social relationships. This ball is being held in the southern part of the Astria Kingdom for nobles to socialize, and I need to take this opportunity to build relationships with other nobles, because establishing connections with nobles is crucial for achieving a peaceful life. But it seems everyone else is afraid to talk to me. They're avoiding me like the plague. To be honest, I already expected this situation. After all, Alan is a debaucherous noble of humble origins who lacks refinement. Although 3 generations ago the family was a renowned aristocratic house in the kingdom, now this family is famous for producing the most notorious playboys in the East. More accurately, they're devils who'll burn you if you provoke them. But I came here prepared. I practiced wine tasting skills for half a day. This wine is truly distinctive, especially that aroma. I'd like to take a few bottles home. Combined with a gentle smile, surely everyone will find me very amiable. The Count's daughter beside me breaks into a cold sweat. She immediately turns and flees. I'll inform my father right away to prepare them for you. This stuns me. How is this different from what I imagined? The nobles whisper that I'm even worse than those 2 brothers, using vicious words to force others to give me wine. Evan behind me can only suppress his laughter and pat my shoulder. After making a round of the ball, I've gained a pile of loot. I wasted time learning about wine. The Faraday reputation is far worse than I originally imagined. And because rumors about me eliminating my own brothers have spread everywhere, I seem to have become someone everyone avoids. It looks like my social life is completely ruined. However, just as I turn to go outside for some air, a woman notices me. Outside, I carefully consider what went wrong. Suddenly a gentle voice sounds, excuse me, may I talk to you? Is someone finally talking to me? However, when I turn around, I don't see anyone. Looking down, I discover a graceful young girl looking at me nervously. Pardon me, I'm Loria, the 3rd daughter of Duke Aldea. Did she just say the Aldea family? And the Aldea family is one of the 3 great shadowy powers in Sisidria, known as the Scoundrels of the North. Right. How could someone who approaches me proactively be an ordinary person? But why do I have no memory of such a prominent figure in the game? I don't think she even exists in the game. Loria gets straight to the point. Please grant me your power, because I might die tonight. I remember the Aldea family only had 4 members in the game, meaning she died before the story even began. Loria tells me about her past. She was born to the Duke's most favored concubine and survived only under her father's protection. But now Duke Aldea is gravely ill, and if her father passes, her siblings will move against her. I'm confused. Why would she ask a complete stranger like me for help? With your power, this should be an easy task. That perpetually calm face shows anxiety for the first time. I must decline. Loria says she won't let me help for nothing. If successful, she'll give me half her family's assets. It's not that I don't want to help her, but right now I can barely maintain my own life, so it's best not to give her any false hope. Even if I wanted to help, I'm not one of those legendary powerhouses. When I look back, I glimpse the despair churning in silent Loria's eyes. I click my tongue, turning back to Loria standing there, still. I wish you good luck. To ease the heaviness in my chest, I squeeze out a polite blessing. Honestly, I hope she can find a reliable ally. Meanwhile, my every move is under Blue Moon's surveillance. Deus decides to report what Alan just said to Udia, but Lena signals he needn't worry, because that girl is the only Aldea member not on Radon's hit list. Deus instantly understands everything. If that's the case, then things are much simpler. They just need to watch over that lord, and prevent any word of the Avalon incident from reaching his ears. Just as I return to the reception hall, a cool greeting stops me again. Hearing this, my heart races with excitement. Am I finally going to make a noble friend? But when I turn around and see who it is, I freeze. How could it be her? Of course, anyone who approaches me isn't an ordinary noble. I then give Lady Genonia a standard noble greeting. Kalia seems surprised. You know me? I confirm. You're famous in many ways. After all, she's one of the 3 dark powers of Astria Kingdom. Aldea in the north, Faraday in the east, and Kalia, eldest daughter of Count Genonia in the west. If Faraday is a street gang, then Genonia is a corporate syndicate. I need connections that will let me live peacefully. For my wonderful, happy life, I absolutely cannot get too involved with her. Who can blame me when Lady Kalia is such a beauty? Kalia looks at me with an intrigued gaze. I'd like to talk with you more. What do you think? I respond that there are too many eyes and ears here. Though internally, that's not what I'm thinking. I just want her to let me leave quickly. Kalia raises an eyebrow in surprise, then laughs in realization, just as the rumors say, while I'm completely confused. Looking forward to our next meeting. Before I can say anything, she leaves, leaving me standing there bewildered. Meanwhile, Deus and the others notice something unusual. A figure in black is surveilling that lord, but they haven't received orders to deal with it. The scene shifts to over 10 days later. Evan and I arrive at a remote canyon. Finally found this place, though it was easy to find this location in the game. In reality, it took half a month of searching. The real reason I attended the ball was for this labyrinth. The labyrinth is called the Whispering Labyrinth. In the game, clearing this labyrinth rewards you with a decent artifact. Fortunately, I still remember the strategy to clear it. Entering the valley, what greets us is a door covered in mysterious runes. Evan also senses this place is mystery, but more than that, he's curious how his young master knows about this place. That's because I come here often. Hearing this, Evan freezes. I almost let it slip while spacing out, so I quickly recover. Just kidding, of course. I naturally have my ways. Evan is speechless. Young master always jokes with such a straight face. Going inside, above the puzzle hangs a pair of giant stone hands. If the answer is wrong, the giant hands will slam down and crush people into pulp. But under these circumstances, how can the young master be so calm? Though he served the young master for 4 years, he still can't understand him, and how he knows about distant matters like the back of his hand. The reason Evan is willing to follow this enigmatic young master is because everything he does is for good. As I solve the puzzle, The labyrinth's treasure vault finally opens. Before us lies a sea of gold and silver treasures, yet I only have eyes for an ordinary-looking black ring, because I know taking anything else will bring disaster. The ring of constraint is exactly what I need. The moment we step out of the labyrinth, Evan's face fills with shock. Was this also within your expectations? Just outside the labyrinth, dozens of golems block their path. Evan knows he can't defeat these things, but he must find a way to let the young master escape. Seeing this, I wave my hand. Let me handle this one. I walk straight toward the golems. Evan breaks into a cold sweat, because the young master's second-tier magic can't possibly defeat these golems. Before he can ask, I lazily recite the incantation. Fragment that inherited the great will of Neakura. Grant me the power of constraint. As my voice falls, the entire world suddenly freezes. An ethereal voice speaks. State 2, executable constraints. I'm stunned by this spectacular scene. In the game, this would just show a dialogue box. The labyrinth's reward, the Ring of Constraint, just as its name suggests, imposes restrictions on the user while granting corresponding compensation. I slowly exhale and recite the constraint clauses I've already planned. First clause, when using magic, I must absolutely use Babylonian hand signs. What do you wish to obtain with this? The power to slightly distort the world's laws. The constraint accepts my request. Second clause, when using magic, I must use Babylonian incantations. What do you wish to obtain with this? The same as before. The mysterious voice falls into brief silence at my answer. This makes me freeze. Did I do something wrong? Just to be safe, I even mimicked the gestures from the skill encyclopedia. Here, you need to use hand signs and incantations as constraints to maximize magical attack power. I played through this many times. There shouldn't be any errors. After a moment, the ethereal voice returns. I accept your request. Human who still remembers the great hand signs and mysteries long forgotten. Thank you for inheriting this will. Hearing this, I'm confused. What does inheriting the will mean? Meanwhile, the ring of constraint is slowly disappearing. It seems the constraint has succeeded. Inheritor of the will, I shall always protect you. As the words fall, I'm quickly pulled back to reality. Evan is trying to pull me away from the golem horde. I know even if I use all my magic power, I couldn't possibly unleash lightning's full power, because my magic core clearly defines my limits. So after obtaining the ring of constraint, I want to use this as an experiment, to see what power constraint and cost can yield. The moment the refractive incantation leaves my lips, the faint light explodes into dancing arcs. Azure light accompanied by crackling explosions. That initially tiny orb suddenly bursts with blue light, transforming into hundreds, thousands of rays, then forming into a massive sphere. In the same instant, I form the hand signs, thumb pressing against the middle finger knuckle, like the starting position of a flicking gesture. Diffract! As the final incantation sounds, the illuminated golems in the canyon seem frozen in space-time. Lightning crackles through their bodies. Dozens of golems disintegrate instantly without resistance. Evan, who was just desperately charging toward the golems to save Alan, now stands frozen with his mouth agape. Is this still human? Evan can't contain his curiosity and asks, have you been hiding your strength all along? I tell him I haven't been hiding anything. Is this really just second-tier magic? I confirm that it is. Evan's face is filled with disbelief. Yet while I appear calm on the surface, I'm panicking internally. After all, even I didn't know the magic could unleash that kind of power. In turn-based combat Sisidria, you can enhance magic through hand signs and incantations within a turn. For instance, when casting Chain Lightning just now, I used 4 incantation sets: Refraction, Deflection, Azure Light, Diffraction Pattern, totaling 5 rounds of enhancement. In other words, I simply exploited a miraculous game mechanic to cast large-scale lightning magic. But beyond that, due to my constraints, I must use gestures and incantations when casting all magic. The magic is roughly enhanced twofold. I shrug. After all, this second-tier magic has ordinary power. The result far exceeded expectations. Even I was startled. Evan, escaping from the labyrinth, has no energy left. This is more exhausting than battle. He wonders, what kind of person created this aggravating place? I remember this labyrinth has another name. When browsing map settings and guides in the community, it somehow became known as Parian's Labyrinth. Someone named Parian created it. Parian. Evan doesn't know who that is. Anyway, let's head back first. Using hand signs that match the magic's attributes increases power, and choosing appropriate incantations enhances properties. Though it's a game mechanic, the icons here remain the same as in the game, only the values increase differently. Just now, each incantation I spoke visibly changed things. Could it be that my excellent magic control ability allows me to perceive these structural changes? Once my magic power recovers, I absolutely must conduct several experiments. Meanwhile, Lena has been watching my every move, which makes her increasingly curious. After Alan and the others leave, Lena arrives at this place, and she can read the mysterious text carved on the wall. Text of the Arlorenep Empire, from the forgotten era of outer gods, carved by the coward Parian for a friend destined to be alone. Reading those words, Lena can't help but laugh mockingly. In an era when outer gods ravaged the land, he repelled the Black Tide's invasions countless times, and even defeated Arak, who could make believers willingly offer their hearts with a single glance. Great and glorious Emperor Parian, Lena, born as the inheritor of the ancient library, bearing the great mission of boundary keeper, instantly recognizes the inscription on the doorframe. It was made by that guy called Parain. Alan's voice suddenly echoes in Lena's mind, though she knows he's someone followed by Queen Eudia, who will be recorded in history, certainly no ordinary person. But for that great lord to be someone even Parain would show respect to, and the magic he just used looked ordinary. But the incantations were extraordinary. Affirmation and denial clash fiercely in her mind, and as she thinks, Lena's entire body trembles with awe, suddenly gazing toward Alan's direction, her face gradually showing a fervent light of reverence. Lena senses a hidden presence and glances aside. Deus is already standing there, his purple gold eyes gleaming faintly as he nods to her. That person in black is dead. His head was suddenly twisted twice in midair, but I didn't sense any magic fluctuations at all. After hearing Deus's account, Lena falls into brief silence. We must report this to Lady Eudia. After a brief exchange, the two figures instantly vanish into the night. The scene shifts to the Genonia estate, where Kalia is recalling the Alan she met today. It seems those rumors aren't false. An expression so cold it's bone-chilling. Eyes like an abyss impossible to look into. Though the Genonia family is very famous, Alan could identify her despite her rarely attending any social events. Father, don't you find that strange? As Kalia snaps her fingers, Count Genonia collapses immediately. It turns out she has already turned her father into a puppet under her control, thereby controlling the entire Genonia family. So how did that guy figure it out? He even discovered the guards I had hidden in the shadows. Meanwhile, a man rushes over. Lady Kalia, there's a situation in your room. When Kalia arrives at her room, she discovers her shadow guard is dead. His seal wasn't triggered, meaning he died without revealing secrets. Kalia realizes the person was deliberately placed in her room. How interesting. He seized a huge leverage over me right at our first meeting. But I'm completely unaware of what Kalia is speculating. After Loria leaves the ball, she clenches her palm and lets out a self-mocking laugh. So I'm the fool after all. The Alan she saw is far beyond what ordinary people can reach. Duke Aldia is called a noble lord by all factions. A nobleman neither the left nor right dares offend easily. Yet his cold gaze was like looking at her father. So at the moment of their meeting, Loria immediately grasped this last straw of salvation. Yet it was ultimately futile. After all, the chips she could stake were merely borrowed from Duke Aldia's charity, a false power that could vanish at any moment. Because above her were 4 other siblings. Compared to them, she was merely a pitiful creature the Aldia family could do without. Without her father's affection, Loria knows she would surely be dealt with by her siblings. Yet just as she prepares to accept this tragic fate, a maid's cry shatters her impending doom. Young masters Phelan and Gig are dead. Loria looks confused when she hears this news. Of the 4 siblings who tormented her for years, suddenly 2 are dead. And before Loria can react, another trembling cry from a maid comes from upstairs. Young Master Timilian and Lady Mariana are dead. Hearing this, Loria immediately rushes upstairs. Witnessing this unbelievable scene, Loria stands frozen. What on earth is happening? At this moment, above the Aldia estate, a mysterious figure moves swiftly. It's Rodden completing his mission. Loria knows well these people wouldn't tear off their masks so quickly, after all there were so many heirs, but now all her siblings are dead. It makes no sense. At this moment, Loria recalls what that man said before leaving. Still, I wish you good luck. So he's the mastermind behind all this. As she thinks, goosebumps crawl all over her trembling body. Just like that, Loria becomes Aldia's only legitimate heir overnight. And Loria has no idea what kind of demon she's made a pact with. But all of this can no longer be undone. The consequences of betraying him, her siblings' fate makes it clear. So now she has only one path to walk. The scene shifts to 2 months later. I receive a letter from Count Aldia. This confuses me, because I've had no dealings with them whatsoever. When I open it, inside is a bottle of wine and a card. This wine is produced in the imperial territory of Cernance. Only 3 bottles per year, each worth thousands of gold coins. Then I confirm again with their butler, this is really from Loria? And the butler confirms, and this bottle of wine is a gift she prepared personally. After hearing the butler's words, I show a confused expression. So in just 2 months, Loria, the 3rd daughter of Duke Aldia's house, became Duke Aldia. After Count Aldia passed away, Loria smoothly inherited the Count's position. Thinking back, she couldn't even enter this office before. Her siblings all died suddenly, yet she remained unharmed, because she has an airtight alibi. Everyone was killed during the time she attended the ball, and her forces had been eliminated by her siblings when she returned to the Count's estate. In other words, she had no power to oppose them. At this moment, Loria recalls previous events and breaks into a cold sweat. So he even utilized such circumstances? Though Alan ruthlessly rejected her on the surface, secretly he handled everything flawlessly. Even more suspicious is that even though all the Duke's heirs died over a month ago, he never initiated contact. After much contemplation, she finally reaches the only reasonable conclusion. Alan is playing a grand game. Though the Aldia family has some power of its own, it's nothing compared to him. In other words, he has other plans. Faraday became a powerhouse in this dark world through commerce alone, and what he lacks, the Aldia family has. The only thing Loria can think of is political power. So he wants to leverage political power, the prestige of Aldia. Loria knows well that once a pact is made, it's irreversible, so she must handle everything here properly now. Still, She must express gratitude. Loria's expressionless lips curve into a smile she herself doesn't notice for the first time. I hope he likes my gift. After delivering the gift, the Aldia butler leaves. What I didn't expect was that Loria, who faced a death threat, actually became a count. I sense something is off. The scene shifts to several months later. Now only 5 years remain until the original story begins. Young master, no. Should I call you Count now? Though the inheritance ceremony hasn't been held yet, I can now legitimately use the title of Count Faraday. However, this wasn't in my original plan at all. My initial goal wasn't to become a count, but to enjoy a good life under a noble title. Though it deviates from my initial goal, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Then Evan hands me a letter. This is a letter from Yudia. Meanwhile, I ask him if there's any news about Leo's assassin. Evan shakes his head. The guild has no results so far. However, Evan is puzzled. Your purpose surely isn't revenge, is it? I confirm, this is just a precaution. After all, the butterfly effect I brought has caused the game's plot to deviate. Then I open Yudia's letter, curious about what it contains this time. Between the lines dance the orphanage's daily trivia. Recently, Deus has been fiddling with marionette shows. That girl Snowwolf is always absorbed in games with friends. Lena quietly reads books and does handicrafts, and Radon has recently become obsessed with arranging garden landscapes. Reading these daily matters, I unconsciously smile like an old father. Though the 5 great sins aren't my biological children, I've watched these little ones grow up in the orphanage over 5 years, and now truly feel something of a father's sentiment. Then I ask Evan, how old is Yudia now? Evan is puzzled why I suddenly asked this. Should be 19. Most of the children you personally brought back then are around that age. Hearing this, their obedient and kind image instantly shatters in my mind. They're the ones who destroy the world. Terrifying just to think about, let alone having them thank me. I chuckle dryly. They should probably go out and explore the world now. Evan nods as if understanding. But didn't you specifically take them in back then? I tell Evan it's no longer necessary. They've grown up. It's time to consider their futures. The reason I gathered this group was to prevent them from awakening as the 5 great sins who destroy the kingdom. Since they've been trained to this extent, there's no need to keep them confined in the orphanage. I recall their individual talents. Yudia governs faith. Deus excels in swordsmanship. Lena specializes in research. Snowwolf has warrior aptitude. Raiden possesses apostle talent. If I can arrange them in suitable positions, won't that be a tremendous force? This is a good plan. Since I'm sending letters, I might as well prepare a gift for each of the 5 great sins about to enter the world. These things will be given out sooner or later anyway. As time passes, evening quickly arrives. I spend a long time writing 5 letters, seal them, and hand them to Evan. As Evan turns to leave, I think that when they rise to prominence in the future, I should be able to get a share of the spoils. The scene shifts to a few days later, inside the underground of the Eastern Orphanage. This time the Great Moon has issued individual instructions to each of us. 5 young people read Alan's letters separately, all curious what tasks that Lord has arranged for them. But except for Yudia, the others are filled with confusion and puzzlement. Is this really a mission? Why does it look like casual chat? Yudia confirms, wasn't I right, that Lord disguises commands as ordinary conversation. It was like this from the beginning. Then Yudia produces the first letter. He identified elimination targets, issued missions, and required us to report afterward. That's when he entrusted Blue Moon to me, and all of us were personally selected by him. Then Deus speaks. This is to prevent information leaks, but he doesn't quite understand either. Shouldn't we visit him in person or use magical communicators? Radon also thinks Deus has a point. If the issue is information leaks, why use letters? Facing their doubts, Yudia reminds everyone again, I hope you haven't forgotten that all we need to do is follow the instructions. Seeing Yudia's chilling trust, Deus doesn't understand but doesn't dare ask further. Snowwolf laughs, breaking the awkward atmosphere. Let's read the other missions. Moments later, everyone reads their letters in low voices. The Great Moon guides me to the Night Kingdom of Caliburn. Snowwolf's is the desert colony, though she hates deserts most. Radon is assigned to the entertainment capital Raxus. Lena's destination is the labyrinth city Raltania. As for Yudia, it's the Holy Kingdom Rosario. What the letters request are the missions we must execute next. Deus doesn't know the reason, but that Lord's meaning is for him to become a knight. The letter not only specifies the profession, but also promises continued funding. And for each person, he marked a gift at a specific location. As for what it is, they'll naturally know when they arrive. As Yudia's voice trails off, I hope everyone remembers, never mention Blue Moon in any situation unless that Lord brings it up first. And the 5 great sins who were meant to destroy the world, now cloaked in Blue Moon's faith, embark on the journey to fulfill the missions in Alan's letters. Time quickly arrives at 3 months later. At this moment, I'm researching the differences between magic and incantations. Though I've obtained theory from books, I still need to experiment personally. Meanwhile, I inquire again about Leo. Evan indicates it's the same as before. The guild has made no progress. I know the butterfly effect has spiraled out of control. After all, I changed the trajectory of the 5 great sins. Even Loria Aldia, who should have died, became a count. She's currently rapidly expanding politically, with growing power and influence. It seems the situation has gotten out of hand. Then I signal Evan to stop investigating Leo, because this is clearly a hidden force manipulating things behind the scenes. In this environment, almost nothing can escape the Information Guild's surveillance. Even if I try to investigate things I shouldn't, the final result might only be destruction. Thinking about it makes me break out in goosebumps goosebumps. If this kind of thing leads to death instead, then such prevention is meaningless. As long as I don't interfere with their affairs, they shouldn't make a move against me. Unless I actively approach them first, they have no reason to attack me. There's no point investigating further. Hearing this, Evan says he'll have the guild stop the investigation this afternoon. Meanwhile, Evan remembers something else. Deus was recently appointed as a Knight of Caliburn. This surprises me. I didn't expect him to become a knight so quickly. The scene shifts, 3 more months pass, and news of Deus arrives again. He's already formed a knight order. I'm puzzled, that kid was knighted less than 2 months ago, right? Forming a knight order requires at least expert level strength, doesn't it? Evan thinks the same, but for news to reach here instantly, Caliburn must be in an uproar. The streets are buzzing with talk that at this rate, a 5th holy knight will emerge in less than 10 years. The scene shifts, another half year passes, a full year since they left the orphanage. Just as I'm gradually adapting to the Count's duties, Evan brings shocking news again. Deus has become one of Caliburn's only 5 holy knights. Hearing this, I freeze for 2 seconds. Don't you have to become a sword master to get that title? The sword master here refers to a sword saint. Rumors about sword saints flash through my mind like a revolving lantern. In Sisidria, a sword saint must condense an aura blade as foundation, and must awaken a unique skill called derivative. So Deus really became that kind of sword saint? However, according to Evan's information, Deus isn't truly a sword master yet, only half a step away, apparently hasn't condensed a derivative skill yet, but he did obtain the Holy Knight title. Supposedly even the 4th Blade Fiora lost to him in a match. Perhaps he was promoted exceptionally. Caliburn's war with the Northern Barbarians has lasted over a decade, and last year one of the 5 Holy Knights fell in battle. So making Deus a Holy Knight both stabilizes morale and demonstrates strength to the enemy. Theoretically, it would take Deus 10 to 15 years to acquire a derivative skill. The current First Blade of Caliburn, Reinhardt, achieved that at 32. Reinhardt, I know this guy. In the 3rd major storyline, he always appears as a temporary ally. He started practicing swordsmanship at 5 and became history's youngest sword saint. Even with such heaven-defying talent, it took him nearly 20 years. Deus did it in 1 year. Is he even human? Evan suddenly clicks his tongue at this, showing some envy. Alan unconsciously rubs his chin, feeling the prickly stubble. In other words, the higher they fly, the greater my returns. Meanwhile, I notice the letters on the side table. In nearly a year, only Yudia's name remains on the correspondence list. Am I not even going to get scraps? Even after reaching that holy kingdom, Yudia continues to send regular letters home. What she mentions in the letters are those deadly sins she's been steeped in since childhood. Though their little group seems quite active, though they've never seen my face before, they should at least thank me for the gifts. I feel terrible right now, but I quickly shake my head to dismiss the thought. I should be grateful they didn't become the 5 great sins who destroy the kingdom. So as long as they're well, all is good. The scene shifts to Caliburn's Central District, where a magnificent building serves as the training ground for Deus's Knight Order, Eclipse, and also the residence of the Eclipse Knight's commander, the kingdom's youngest swordmaster in history, Deus Makarin. Deus sighs softly, his gaze carelessly sweeping over the carved curtains facing the manor. Brother, when a bell-like call comes from the courtyard, a girl in a puffy dress stands on tiptoe waving at him. Sunlight dances in her hair, and Deus unconsciously curves his lips. A full year has passed, but recalling it still makes him feel somewhat embarrassed. Years ago, Deus lost everything to the Black Goat, including Ciri. Afterward, all he had left was uncontrollable anger and hatred. Though Blue Moon did rescue him, that wasn't enough reason to swear loyalty to Blue Moon. Blue Moon promised to give him a chance for revenge, so he followed Blue Moon's orders, participated in training, and executed dangerous missions. These missions became his foundation for fighting dark forces. Until a year ago when he received a special mission, he didn't pay much attention to the gift mentioned in the letter then, but he still went to check. However, when he arrived at the address mentioned in the letter, the scene before him left him completely stunned, because Ciri, who should have died at the Black Goat's hands, was now bustling about the inn completely unharmed. Just thinking about how he lost control upon first seeing her, embracing her tightly and weeping, still makes his ears burn. After Deus arrived at the address Alan wrote, he saw Ciri here, who should have died at the Black Goat's hands. He was puzzled about what happened during this time. When this emotional storm subsided, Deus finally heard from Ciri about her experiences over the years. After being taken by the Black Goat, she stayed in a dark cage for a very long time. Yet just as she was being carried to the execution ground, a beam of light suddenly interrupted everything. She escaped using that brief opportunity, but her days outside weren't good. Just when she was caught by traffickers to be sold as a slave, a mercenary named Evan appeared in time and saved her. From then on, she received help from that lord. The letter Ciri produced was written in his own hand. I'm extremely grateful for everything he did for me. If not for him, I would surely be dead. After hearing Ciri's story, Deus couldn't help but wonder, how could the great Blue Moon foresee all this? After all, he never mentioned family matters after joining Blue Moon. Though Yudia deduced the Black Goat's crimes from residual traces, she knew nothing of the details. How does he know everything? However, before long he stopped dwelling on this question. Instead, Yudia's voice surfaced. That lord knows everything. One day you'll understand why I follow him. Deus chews on words he once dismissed but now suddenly understands. All the questions fit together perfectly like puzzle pieces. Previously, he didn't understand why Udia was so anxious, but now it seems the foolish one was himself. That Lord had grasped everything long ago. Now looking back, what he said back then meant he already knew everything, and he'd been conveying certain hints to that child who would survive alone. Seeing her anxious brother, Ceres speaks and pulls him back from his thoughts, thinking about his desire for revenge against the Black Goat. That Lord surely knew long ago. His blade dared to act on its own, yet he still chose generosity. For this man corroded by hatred, Ceres' survival and that Lord secretly protecting her in his name was a grace more precious than any treasure. At this moment, Deus finally understands that Udia's words weren't a fanatic's worship. No matter what happens, Deus secretly vows to repay this debt. Henceforth, he will follow the moon's will, become a knight in Caliburn, become Caliburn's pinnacle and king of knights. Now he must begin the first step of his plan. No matter what hardships he encounters, he looks forward to one day expressing his gratitude and giving him a satisfying return, proving his worth under the moonlight. After reciting the Eclipse Knight's battle cry in a low voice, he embarks on the expedition to subjugate the barbarians, to forge a supreme knight order worthy of the great blue moon. The scene shifts to another side. Since returning from last year's ball, I've been obsessed with researching magical incantations. Through repeated experiments, these incantations can indeed alter the essence of magic. Take the 4 incantation sets I used when exploring the ruins. Refraction enhances the incompleteness of completed magic, doubling the scatter range. Deflection shatters the magic form, causing projectiles to undergo spatial displacement. Azure light descends like thunder, amplifying parallel magic with critical strikes. And finally, diffraction pattern grants magic penetration effects. Additionally, I've cracked several inherent rules of incantations. No repeating the same incantation, no using incantations contrary to the magic, and the total number of incantations cannot exceed 5. Violating these 3 iron rules will cause magic to fail or lose power significantly. Because my magic core is too small, I can only practice once per day. Due to this era's background, records of Babylonian gestures and phrases have long been forgotten, so no related information remains. Ultimately, I have to conduct this research myself. I find I actually enjoy the process, though my original intention in learning magic was just self-protection. Now let's test these 2 months of results. When I chant the incantations, useless magic gains meaning. Fixation. The flickering lightning before me stops with the incantation, maintaining its explosive form as if time has frozen. Compression. With the murmur of the next incantation, the lightning sphere, originally the size of a large ball, suddenly shrinks to marble size while stationary. As the word decomposition falls, the spherical lightning instantly breaks apart and gradually forms a clear target. Instant bloom. When I release my stiff fingers and utter the final incantation, a towering lightning tree rises from the ground. The brilliant lightning giant tree solidifies into an eternal form, as if someone pressed pause on a lightning strike. Seeing this, I nod with satisfaction. The sequence of incantations does indeed affect the magic's form, because when I first put decomposition first, it didn't have this effect at all. But just then, a cry of surprise interrupts me. Looking back, I discover it's Kalia from the Genonia Count's house and a middle-aged man. At this moment, her eyes are wide and mouth agape, her usual noble bearing completely broken. Is this origin magic? How could she be here? The middle-aged man's mouth is equally agape, his shocked expression identical to Kalia's. Using origin magic means his strength has reached 7th tier mage level. Hearing their conversation stuns me. I'm a 7th tier mage? After Kalia witnessed Alan releasing magic, the 2 soon appear in Count Faraday's reception room. Kalia's visit to the Faraday Count's house has 2 main purposes. He clearly holds trump cards capable of severely damaging Genonia, yet remains inactive. Therefore, she wants to understand Alan's true intentions. The second reason is to personally verify the strength of the mysterious organization under Count Faraday mentioned in rumors. To glimpse that tip of the iceberg, Kalia thought of a method. That is, the 5th tier mage Biancal. He was expelled from the Magic Tower for researching excessively inhumane magical experiments. His strength is unquestionable, a powerhouse who could crush an entire soldier unit single-handedly. Biancal is consistently arrogant, even toward the Genonia family who sponsors him. But the expression on his face now is a first. Fear has spread throughout his body. Was that magic demonstrated earlier truly origin magic? Soon, a voice interrupts Kalia's thoughts. So, what brings Count Genonia here? Alan's gaze is identical to last time. Those cold, ruthless eyes slowly sweeping over Biancal and Kalia as if completely uninterested in this situation. Kalia hurriedly says, "My apologies, Count Faraday, it was my discourtesy. I was eager to meet you, and this rudeness occurred." After a moment of silence, I speak. No need to feel harsh judgment, but one thing must be clarified. What I used wasn't origin magic. My magical attainment is ordinary, barely 2nd tier at best. This mage may have noticed that magic has no actual use. I explain because it can neither defend nor attack. But to them, these words carry another meaning. That gloomy face seems to warn, what happened today must never be revealed. Just like seeing ordinary 2nd tier magic, Biancal trembles and speaks first. "My apologies, my lord, my eyes were mistaken." Kalia's pupils contract slightly. This is the first time she's heard Biancal use honorifics. Hearing this, I nod with satisfaction. Since the misunderstanding is cleared, then what brings you to visit Faraday? Loria is caught off guard by this direct question and hurriedly composes herself. "Just a casual visit. I happen to be handling business nearby and thought of visiting you, Count. I then ask if there's anything particular, and Kalia quickly shakes her head. I scrutinize Kalia for a moment before speaking, regrettably, due to pressing official duties. I'm afraid I don't have much time to converse with you both. So Kalia stands up directly. That's quite all right. I was just passing by anyway. Thank you for your precious time. I'll take my leave now. As she's leaving, I call out to her, if you need a conversation partner, you might visit Duke Aldia. In my view, your temperaments are compatible, so you should get along well. Kalia faces that indifferent smile, though her lips and tongue have already gone dry. Since you suggest it, I will visit the Duke. The carriage carries Lady Genonia farther away. Evan's puzzled voice drifts on the wind. That notorious family from the West. Why did she come looking for us? How should I know? I completely can't guess Kalia's intentions. I shouldn't have shown off magic, creating unnecessary trouble. I just hope rumors about abusing origin magic don't spread. This cursed place is a dark fantasy world crawling with lunatics. Those who go mad with jealousy at the sight of the strong are everywhere. Still, she should understand what I meant just now, right? Though I introduced Duke Aldia, these two families are fierce rivals. Lady Genonia should go visit her and just not come looking for me. At this moment, the carriage slowly moves forward. Kalia speaks again. Was the magic Count Faraday used truly origin magic? Unusually, Bianca doesn't answer immediately. It's not origin magic. Kalia is puzzled. Then your reaction just now was, facing Kalia's confused inquiry, he takes a deep breath to calm himself. Origin is the ultimate realm for all mages, like a canvas for unrestricted creation. Only mages who reach 7th tier or above can sketch their own unique laws on this absolute canvas. But Count Faraday's magic is another matter. Strictly speaking, his magic is tearing the entire canvas apart. Simply put, he's distorting rules that should be eternally unchanging. Bianca suddenly lowers his voice. He fixed uncontrollable thunder in midair, then personally shattered the magic formation he constructed. Yet those array patterns continue to operate. More absurd still, afterward. When that man demonstrated magic defying common sense, the patterns floating in his crimson pupils were clearly those of some forgotten great deity. Thinking this, Bianca suddenly surges his magic power to cut off his thoughts. He feels his head is about to explode. He's researched magic from the Forgotten Era and knows well how dangerous it is to continue pondering the truth within. The only advice he can give is never make an enemy of Count Faraday, and especially never oppose him. At this moment, Kalia can't help but smile bitterly. The way Alan gazed at her, that expressionless face, eyes like still deep waters. She couldn't discern any of his intentions. Suddenly, she recalls his parting words. She's already realized she's become a piece on the chessboard. The scene shifts to 5 months later. Today marks the 2nd anniversary of the children leaving the orphanage. At this moment, I can skillfully handle the Count's affairs. While processing official business, I ask Evan, any latest news about the children? Evan pauses. No news from Yudia's side, but there's some from Genonia. I heard the Genonia Count's house formed an alliance with the Aldia Duke's house. Hearing this, I'm directly startled. The two major dark powers actually formed an alliance? Evan confirms, though it's a secret pact reached in the underworld, so outsiders couldn't possibly know about it. The alliance is certain. However, I'm already panicking. I led those sins onto another path, but now I have to deal with some alliance between two dark powers. Is the kingdom of Asura about to fall into decline? At this moment I recall what I said to Kalia months ago. Did I cause them to form an alliance? But I quickly shake my head and dismiss the thought. Kalia is proud and cold, and Loria has Duke Aldia's temperament. The two can't possibly work together. The alliance will surely dissolve soon. Still, I plan to write them a letter. To Kalia, if I appeared too blunt and cold before, I deeply apologize. The reason is that I'm not good at expressing myself. I hope this doesn't seem like I'm making excuses. After writing, I have Evan deliver it to her. Then I look at the note on the desk where even the name is blurred. I want to know how Radon and Snowwolf are doing. Since Yudia mentioned in her letter that they'd arrived at their destinations, I haven't received any news from them. They didn't die in the wilderness, did they? If she discovered the gift I wrote about in the letter, she should become outstanding among all warriors. Become the essence of the golden clan of the Babaya family. When used in the game, it grants a 20% critical rate bonus. If obtained by the sin of pride, not only would she not fall into villainy, but could become a great member of the Wolf clan. I remember that's how that equipment was described. I revealed to her the locations of those hidden treasures, originally planning to use these treasures as emergency funds, hoping she could support herself with her talents. So she should be fine, right? Even though it's a nation of gladiators, with the gauntlet's power, she should be able to dominate there. The scene shifts to the southern side of the desert colony. At the end of a deep desert cave, with shuffling footsteps, a girl staggers out of the darkness. Her once short hair now hangs to her waist. Though exhausted, her trial is finally ended. This golden claw gauntlet is exactly the gift the Great Blue Moon gave her. She originally thought the legend of the essence of the Golden Clan was just nonsense, but after this, she realizes it's not just a fairy tale. When she was young, her mother told them that their tribe were descendants of the king of all beasts, the Golden Clan, descendants of the rulers of all beast races. The core item of the Golden Mane tribe is a legendary treasure, passed down for hundreds of years, granting them power and authority. Now Snowwolf has grasped its true essence, and passed all the trials of her inner world. Snowwolf knows she couldn't have accomplished all this on her own. It's all because of the Great Blue Moon. Blue Moon is both the benefactor who saved her from deadly experiments, and the one who granted her the power to avenge her parents against the Black Dragon who killed them. This debt must be repaid. She recalls Blue Moon's instructions when she left. Even if she's not smart, she understands that Lord wants far more than than a mere gladiator. As her thoughts flow, Snowwolf's gaze naturally falls on the gauntlet, that omnipotent gauntlet capable of granting the Golden Clan's power. The moment she gazes at the gauntlet, Snowwolf finally understands Blue Moon's true intention: become a famous gladiator, gather the Golden Clan scattered everywhere, restore their glory, and then slay that black dragon. The instant Snowwolf steps out of the cave, a bright moon hangs in the 9 heavens. Blue moonlight pouring down dyes the entire desert azure. All is to serve that lord. She utters the